Acknowledgement. We, as creators of the creative community, wiseKreator, have come up with the responsibility by creating this journal, namely Khamoshi, Sacchiii, Uss Tareekh Ki. This journal has the key theme revolving around rape and sexual harassment by taking in consideration the case of Nirbhaya, the case which marked the beginning of rebellion and questioning in a country like India. We have made sure to keep the language understanding and neutral, which will not harm anyone's sentiments. Everything mentioned in this journal is purely based on facts and personal observations. Keeping in mind the originality of creative journals, we have utilized the authority of critical acclamation and rational examinations of figures and speeches made. The journal has been divided into various sections, and each of it consists of content that is free from any kind of plagiarism. The language usage has been taken into serious consideration, but if there is any source of resentment, then it's a matter of mere coincidence and overwhelming mindsets. The writers of this journal are Uruj, Yashovardhan, and Astha. The entire journal is headed by Ms. Itisha Sinha, co-founder of wiseKreator, and Ms. Anvisha Tiwari, senior content lead.
Abstract. The nation's capital, Delhi. The well-known Nirbhaya scandal has raised many questions before the law. This incident has exposed that terrible face of society which we all keep hiding somewhere. Nirbhaya lost the battle of life, but went on to introduce a big change in this society. Generally, the name of the victim in rape cases is not made public in the Indian Constitution. It is against our law, but it did not happen here because people stood with her, naming her as Nirbhaya, as Nirbhaya means without fear. Due to media and constant struggle of many people, this matter emerged as a worldwide concern, resulting in delayed but justice. After 7 years, finally on March 20, 2020, after fighting a long battle, all 4 of her convicts were hanged. The legal and policy reforms arising out of the Nirbhaya scandal, which took place for people suffering from gender-based violence in India, will be an important moment of history. But even today, there are so many girls in India whose voice remains subdued, and how many are afraid to even raise their voice. Although today there is a discussion of equal rights to boys and girls, and many laws have been made on this too. But has it made any difference? This journal examines changes in the attitude of citizens in the country, such as media involvement in rape cases, reports of criminal incident data, agitations, impact of law made for women, and surveys that shows their progressive policies and reforms, which often forms a major obstacle in becoming effective. Introduction. Jyoti Singh might not be a name recognized by many, but Nirbhaya surely is. Nirbhaya was just 23 when all her dreams were shattered. Her life completely changed. It was the night of 16th December 2012 when she was returning home accompanied with her friend Avindra Pratap Pandey. They boarded a white-colored bus which at that time was off duty. The bus only had 6 males riding it. including the driver. Soon, as the bus seemed to deviate from the route, they became suspicious and asked for a drop-off. On this, a tussle arose between them, and Avindra Pandey was then brutally attacked by one of the males with an iron rod. The rod was hit so forcefully that Avindra lost his consciousness. Jyoti was then dragged to the back seat and savagely raped by each man as Avindra lay bleeding on the floor. To prove their savagery, one male out of the 6 inserted a rod into her private parts, ripping her intestine apart. Only to think of it, a fright runs through the nerves. Her agony cannot even be imagined, let alone put in words. The motive of the journal is exemplary. The journal wants to create awareness about the seriousness of the crime and how in the contemporary Indian society, the life of the unfortunate victim grinds to the halt for no fault of her. Furthermore, the perpetrators of such a heinous crime almost go away scot-free. In 2017, more than 32,500 cases of rape were reported with the police, which sums up to 90 a day, according to the recent data. Out of all these, the Indian courts has disposed only 18,300 cases of rapes that year, which left about 1,27,700 cases pending, waiting to get justice. Not just rape, there are several other crimes against women which are not spoken about, not registered. The Criminal Law Amendment Act 1983 has substituted Section 375, 376 instead of the older sections and has also introduced Section 376A to 376D. The IPC Section 375 states that a man is said to commit rape who, except in the case hereinafter excepted, has sexual intercourse with a woman under circumstances falling under various descriptions. This journal sheds a light on how impact and unforgettable this case has been. It asks the question to why somebody had to sacrifice her life so that people would be aware of such an atrocious crime. It asks the question as to why wasn't Jyoti safe? How can humans be so inhuman? Why did it take so long for Jyoti to get justice when it took such a less amount of time for her life to be ruined? Overview of the Nirbhaya case. Recalling what people called cruel, but it was demonic. 16 December 2012. Not a date. It is a day of shame for humanity. The well-known Nirbhaya case, a rape case that happened in Delhi. It was such a heinous crime that all India stood in support for justice to Jyoti Singh, Nirbhaya. Widespread number of protests in India happened and demanded immediate justice for her. Amid the whole nation supporting her, she lost her fight by leaving us to heavenly abode. This raised a huge, massive anger all over the country. Finally, justice was served after 7 years on 20th March 2020, where the 4 convicts were hanged to death. Such evil mindsets are present in the society and we need to identify them. Society should play a big role and they should isolate these mindsets. We should cure these types of mindset, but as a nation, There must be a fear of the law for such heinous crimes. To encounter such things, the legislature and judiciary should together contribute. Enhancement of the amended laws and the number of fast-track courts should increase. We should make an environment so that women feel safe always. A family can also give their contribution to stop this. Having a discussion about the sexual harassment and its punishment, giving males the result of the consequences and teaching them of not doing this. This will also help to reduce the crimes against women. In the whole incident, she got justice, but it took 7 delayed years and constant struggle of her mother Asha Devi for justice. From this case, we found that the judiciary system works with a slow pace, and there are many loopholes in it. After 4 death warrants issued by the court, justice got served. After cancellation of 3 death warrants, and it was all due to those loopholes. The lawyer was the main reason behind the delay. There were many of the play to cancel these warrants by rape convict lawyer A.P. Singh. He mocked the joke at the judiciary system and showed us the loopholes present. This demotivates women, and due to this, women don't feel safe disclosing the crimes against them. A victim should also come up and fight for justice. It will motivate other victims to fight and get justice. The NGOs, women organizations should also help these victims to fight for their rights. Apex Court also felt that the current laws on rape and needs amendment so that the victim gets immediate justice. The Fast Track Court heard the case and sentenced death, challenged in the High Court and further Supreme Court of India. Continuous stay on death warrants again and again, the lawyer played mind games in the court. The lawyer pleaded to the Delhi government, central government and the President of India, and there was a huge delay for justice. Asha Devi is an idol for us because she led cases until the end in the hope of getting justice. There is a lot of work needed to be done in the field of women's safety and security. In the end, to those evil mindsets, you should think about your sister, daughter, wife and mom. If such incidents happen to them, then what will you do? Because at the end, atonement won't be your key to nirvana.
Timeline: Nirbhaya rape case. 29th December 2012 at 11th March 2013. After 13 days, Nirbhaya lost her battle with death in Singapore hospital due to the brutal assault injuries. One of the accused committed suicide in Tihar jail under police custody. Defendant alleged that he was murdered. Later, police cleared that there was no role of police in the suicide. 28th January and 10th September 2013. The juvenile board came to the conclusion that one of the convicts was juvenile verified from his date of birth. So, he was given a punishment of 3 years under Juvenile Justice Act 2000. Remaining 4 convicts were found guilty of rape and murder. They were considered for death sentence after 3 days by hanging. 13th March and 15th March 2014. The cases were further challenged in Delhi High Court, but the court upheld the guilty verdict and death sentences. The Apex Court stayed the decision of death for the 2 convicts, allowing them to make their appeal against the conviction. Further, in June, the rest 2 also appealed to make appeal against the conviction. Apex Court granted a stay in July. It was all the use of the loopholes which stayed hanging. Note: punishment to the 4 convicts in the other matter of robbing was sentenced to 10 years imprisonment. 5th May 2017 and 9th July 2018. The Apex Court rejected the appeal of all the 4 and upheld the sentence for death. Apex Court found this rarest of the rarest rape case and upheld the death sentence. The Apex Court rejected the review petition of the 3 convicts. In November 2019, the Apex Court rejected the review petition of Akshay and retained the death sentence. After the verdict, Akshay's lawyer told the court that he would appeal to the President of India, and for this to be done, he should be given 3 weeks' time. In January 2020, the Apex Court, led by a 5-judge bench, rejected the curative petitions of Mukesh and Vinay. 7th January 2020, Delhi High Court issued death warrants of Nirbhaya rapists, deciding execution on 22nd January 2020. Note: according to prison rules, if a case has more than 1 convict of death penalty and if one of them moves a mercy plea, then the execution gets postponed till the decision. Also, adding the execution can't take place till all the convicts use their legal options mentioned under Prison Rule A36. In January, Mukesh filed a mercy plea. The Home Ministry of India and Delhi government immediately made a recommendation to reject the mercy plea. Delhi government forwarded to the Lieutenant Governor of Delhi. 17th January 2020. The President of India rejected the mercy plea of Mukesh. Hours after the rejection, Delhi High Court issued the second death warrant of the convicts after 14 days on 1st February at 6 a.m. Indian Standard Time. The 14 days of reprieve was provided according to a law that states convicts awaiting execution must have a reprieve if their mercy plea gets rejected. In the same hearing, the court rejected Mukesh's plea to postpone the execution. A convict appealed in Supreme Court against Delhi High Court order that rejected the claim of being a juvenile during the crime. 31st January and 17th February 2020. Delhi High Court stayed the death warrant and didn't issue a fresh death warrant. It was due to the lawyer making the remark of note mentioned above. The third death warrant issued by the court decided the execution date to be 3rd March. 4th March 2020. The fourth death warrant issued and the execution date was 20th March 2020 at 5:30 a.m. Indian Standard Time. In between, numerous pleas and appeals made by the families of the convicts and the convicts themselves was seen. 3 of them also moved to international court, but the date remains still. 20th March 2020 at 5:30 a.m. Indian Standard Time, Nirbhaya gets justice as the convicts were hanged at the Har jail.
Remarks and statements. Controversial statements given on Nirbhaya rape case. A lawyer said, "If my daughter engages in premarital activities, I would most certainly put petrol on her and set her alight." A panchayat leader said that consumption of chow mein leads to rape. A politician stated that as long as the earth exists, there will be rapes. Another politician advised to wear decent clothes so as to not allure boys. A mad lawyer said, "In our culture, there is no place for women." We see that these statements are ridiculous and describe the mentality of these people. Eating chow mein is totally baseless. How could one decide eating of something would lead to rape. This totally shows their insensitivity towards such a heinous crime. The statement on rape, exist till the earth exists, has also kept me wondering that what type of mentality is the root cause of such heinous crimes. The clothes statement was on a different level. It means that they don't want women to be a part of the society and country's development. Their types of people only satisfy their patriarchal ego. There should be more vigorous punishment than the hanging one. Women represent our culture. A culture without women is like air without oxygen. A woman is the base of our ancient culture and she is always worshipped. She is the symbol of Shakti, the power. Many other politicians also made controversial statements on women. These statements are highly vulnerable and are criticized all over the country. A representative represents this area, which includes all the residing citizens. These politicians are elected by the people, so people shouldn't vote for these type of people who do not respect women. According to a personal approach, in my family, we all respect and worship woman as a goddess and believe that contribution is needed from both sides of human beings. Without a woman, it's like clapping with one hand, which makes no sense. Clapping requires both hands, just like the contribution requires both men and women. Just like on Raksha Bandhan, all the women are like our mothers, sisters, and we do believe in respecting and protecting our women. In our moral duty to respect and protect them. In our village, the environment here for the women is very safe and there is great support and encouragement towards women protection and empowerment. But in other villages, there is a misbelief that women are only for home management and she shouldn't do anything other than this. They are married earlier because of society pressure. They are blindfolded by this misbelief that only few of them are aware and believe in giving them support. This thing must be changed. There should be awareness that women can do anything and everything in the fields of every aspect of this country. We should remove the blindfold of understanding and underestimating the woman at every point. We can also see some women are not supporting other women on the issue of rape. Women must be united, and this unity is the power, and this will ensure justice to every woman. These women who are not supporting must rethink on their own that they are doing injustice to themselves. Yatra nayastu pujyante ramyante tatra devata. Yatretastu na pujyante sarvastrata phale kriya. Where a woman is respected, her needs and expectations are met, God is happy at that place, society, and family. Where this does not happen and they are treated with contempt, Deva Kripa is not there and the work done isn't successful.
Banned movies. Documentaries were screened to bring the truth out. Was it true enough? A Netflix web series of 7 episodes based on Nirbhaya case was aired on 22 March 2019. The controversy was on skipping the irresponsibility made by Delhi police and giving them clean chit. The fact shown and the truth hunting is as follows. Giving a clean chit and praising to the police and accusing protesters. It was focused on the police action and not on the protests and the family. Also, it showed that the police acted rapidly to catch the convicts. Also, it made viewers believe that the man who was robbed in the bus by 6 men didn't approach the police. Truth. It is not a complete truth. Delhi police made efforts, but not complete efforts. There was a contribution of the protesters and struggle of the family to pressurize the police for action. Police patrolling was not able to track the bus early. If the police acted swiftly that night, Nirbhaya's life could be saved. It is completely rubbish. Ramdhar Singh approached the Horse Khas police station that night. My view on the film and series is that it's good to make such social issue-based documentaries. Showing the people about the incident and making awareness is also appreciable. But it is wrong to make a movie on hiding facts and giving fake content. Also, it is bad to make a movie for commercial purposes rather than social, because it will make the viewers feel that it is propaganda only. Police are appreciated many times and they deserve this. But in the Nirbhaya case, it was not so. So giving clean chit is not good, as it would be injustice. Also, the film should not show the whole negative about the country where it happened. It would encourage negative aspects about the citizens of that country. It would affect the image of the country. In the end, the documentary on such issues must be true, factually correct, and unbiased. Social issues, films and series are always welcomed, but the condition is that it must be factually true.
Constitution and its amendments. The definition of the rape crime was presented in an earlier article regarding the crime of rape. In this article, the provision of punishment in the Indian Penal Code in relation to rape is being discussed. Rape is a crime in the eye of Indian Penal Code, to which very detailed provisions have been made. The more detailed the definition of this crime is, the more detailed the provision of punishing the subject of the crime. Penalty for the offence of rape has been imposed under Section 376 of the Indian Penal Code. Sections 376, 376A, 376B, 376C and 376D, 376E have prescribed punishment for the crime of rape. Section 376. It has two subsections. The first subsection describes the period of punishment for rape in ordinary cases. If a person is convicted of the crime of rape in ordinary cases, he can be imprisoned for a term of at least 7 years or up to a maximum of life. Both penalties and fines can be awarded in case of punishment. In the state case of Madhya Pradesh versus Mahesh Bhumia, AIR 2006 SC 763, it has been said that if a case is awarded less than the minimum, then prima facie it would be contrary to law. If specific or sufficient reasons are not given, such a sentence will be considered invalid. In the case of State of Karnataka versus Raju, a 10-year-old girl was raped by an 18-year-old boy. He was punished with the minimum sentence due to his age. The Supreme Court considered it unfair. Imprisonment in the case of simple rape will be minimum of 7 years under any circumstances. At most, it can be up to life imprisonment. Special rape cases. Subsection 2 of Section 376 deals with special rape cases. If the crime of rape is acted on under these special circumstances, a case under subsection 2 is filed. Section 376A. Penalty for the death of the victim or for perpetually distorting condition. If a convict rapes a woman, the woman dies in raping or her condition becomes distorted, then in such a situation, the convict under Section 376A shall suffer a minimum of 20 years imprisonment or maximum death penalty can be given. Life imprisonment can also be given, which means imprisonment for the rest of life. Section 376B. Offences committed by the husband during separation with his wife. Without consent, the husband commits intercourse with his wife, who is otherwise living separately from the husband due to decree of separation. Section 376B will be carved. This offence can be punished by imprisonment for a minimum of 2 years and imprisonment up to a maximum of 7 years with fine. In some recent cases, it was seen that the husband staying at the husband's house, the wife living with the husband can also file a rape case against the husband, but in later cases, the Supreme Court overturns its decision. Section 376C. Under the authority of this action, sexual intercourse by a person in a situation of trust with a woman or a matter of authority, such as the management of her hospital, an employee, a public servant, a jail reform house or widow house, etc. Someone who breaches trust and a woman is raped under Section 376C, he can be punished with imprisonment for a maximum of 10 years but not less than 5 years. Section 376D for gang rape. Gang rape is present in India at the same time as canker. It is a terrible situation for the whole society. Arrangements to deal with the situation have been made under Section 376D of the Indian Penal Code, where a woman is raped with the same intent by forming a group by one or more persons. There shall be rigorous imprisonment for a term which shall not be less than 20 years, and life imprisonment, which means imprisonment for the rest of life, can be given. After the Nirbhaya incident in February 2013, the Criminal Law Amendment Ordinance came, under which changes were made in sections 181 and 182 of the IPC, in which rules related to rape were tightened and the rapist could also get the death penalty. The definition of rape has changed after the Nirbhaya incident. New definition of rape. Section 375 of the IPC defines in detail the rape cases. It has been said that if a man forcibly makes physical relations with a woman, he will be charged for rape. Also, under the existing provision, both sexual acts or misconduct with a woman will be under the purview of rape. Constitutional changes after Nirbhaya. Juvenile Justice Bill passed. On 22nd December 2015, Juvenile Justice Bill was passed in the Rajya Sabha. This act provided that a child 16 years of age or older would be prosecuted for committing a heinous crime. Establishment of Nirbhaya Fund. After the Nirbhaya scandal, the central government set up the Nirbhaya Fund. In the Nirbhaya Fund, the government provided an amount of ₹1,000 crores. This fund was created for the victims of rape and survivor with relief and rehabilitation schemes. It provides that every state government, the central government, will provide funds for the purpose of compensation and victims of crime including rape in coordination. Before the Delhi rape case, sexual penetration was considered a rape. But after this, the definition of rape has completely changed in the country. Wrongful molestation and other forms of sexual abuse as well were considered. The court may have taken time, but trust in the public is also in place. Nirbhaya had not forced the government to make a big change in the law about the rape. Public anger in the case was such that POCSO Act was brought into existence, under which Asaram, the Dharma Guru, was also sentenced, along with changes in several sections related to rape. The state also felt the need for a fast track court. The word POXO comes from English. It means Full Time Protection of Children from Sexual Offences Act 2012. Under this act, action is taken in the case of sexual offences and molestation occurring with minor children. The act provides protection to children from serious offences such as sexual harassment, sexual assault, and pornography. The accused arrested under the POXO Act do not even get a bail. After the Nirbhaya scandal, the law and government changed due to the agitation, but there was no significant change in the system. However, due to the hardening of the law in many places, women and victims are getting benefit from it.
Constitutional changes after Nirbhaya. Juvenile Justice Bill passed. On 22 December 2015, Juvenile Justice Bill was passed in the Rajya Sabha. This act provided that a child 16 years of age or older would be prosecuted for committing a heinous crime. Establishment of Nirbhaya Fund. After the Nirbhaya scandal, the central government set up the Nirbhaya Fund. In the Nirbhaya Fund, the government provided an amount of Rs 1,000 crores. This fund was created for the victims of rape and survivors with relief and rehabilitation schemes. It provides that every state government, the central government will provide funds for the purpose of compensation and victims of crime including rape in coordination. Before the Delhi rape case, sexual penetration was considered a rape. But after this, the definition of rape has completely changed in the country. Wrongful molestation and other forms of sexual abuses as well were considered. The court may have taken time, but trust in the public is also in place. Nirbhaya had not forced the government to make a big change in the law about the rape. Public anger in the case was such that POSCO Act was brought into existence under which Asaram, the Dharma Guru, was also sentenced. Along with the changes in several sections related to rape, the state also felt the need for a fast-track court. The word POSCO comes from English. It means Full-Time Protection of Children from Sexual Offences Act 2012. Under this act, action is taken in case of sexual offences and molestation occurring with minor children. The act provides protection to children from serious offences such as sexual harassment, sexual assault, and pornography. The accused arrested under the POSCO Act do not even get a bail. After the Nirbhaya scandal, the law and government changed due to the agitation, but there was no significant change in the system. However, due to the hardening of the law, in many places, women and victims are getting benefit from it.
Results and punishments. Finally, on a Friday morning of March 2020, a story that had shook the whole nation came to an end after 8 years. Nirbhaya finally got justice, but the real question is, did this put an end to the rape culture as well? Nirbhaya's parents and well-wishers celebrated the fact that justice was finally served to Nirbhaya. Their hearts finally took a sigh of relief. But what about thousands of other cases that still haven't got justice yet? The victory
that the people celebrated was short-lived, as there is no denying in the fact that amongst this triumph the defeat of women still being unsafe in India is hiding. While this case had upset thousands of people and the government took various actions, in reality nothing much has changed. The women in India are still given warnings to come back home before the dark, or they are sure something unfortunate will take place. Women are still told to carry pepper sprays with them to protect themselves. They are the ones who are restricted from living life on their terms, rather than the demons waiting for the dark to find another prey each day. All these technological advances like sharing live location or tracking phones, etc., are not to stop the rapists, it's for the women to stop falling in the trap. No to the rape clause. How soon do we get justice? If the rate of justice is seen in the courts, it was up to about 26% in all cases between 2002 and 2011. However, after the year 2012, the court decided to see some improvement in the rate of decision. After that, the rate fell again to 25% in 2016. In the year 2017, this rate was slightly above 32%. The way in which cases in courts proceed from year to year, it also increases the chances of changing statements by intimidating and luring the victims and eyewitnesses at times. Rate of decision in cases of rape. This becomes even more so when a person sitting on a high position in a case or his nearby is accused. Earlier, at least 9 eyewitnesses related to this case had been attacked. Last year, the government had said that it would set up 1,000 additional fast-track courts so that pending rape cases would be dealt with quickly. It takes years to get justice on a rape case in a country in which a rape incident occurs every half an hour. The calendars change, but the lives of these victims do not change. They stop, as if someone has put their lives on hold. The rape victim remains aged. She is not married. If married, there is no respect in the society. But the accused also marries and spends a laughing life. According to NCRB 2015 data, in India in 2015, 34,651 rape cases were reported in the country, of which 95 were cases of custodial rape and 557 by their own families. In these cases, the rate of pending cases is still very high. Investigation is still pending in 28.4% of all criminal cases in 2015. Out of these 50,509 cases of rape which were to be investigated, 31.8% of investigation is still pending. Conviction rate was only 29%. Attempt to rape was to be investigated in 5,726 cases, out of which 31.4% is still pending investigation. In these cases, 3,892 people filed charge sheets in which 19.8% cases were punished. Impact on our society. She was a warrior, and to light her soul, these candles were burning with all the light they have. But are they enlightening minds? The Nirbhaya case had a great impact on the society. It helped understand what people really think of rapes and other sexual harassment revolving around women worldwide. Although the number of cases reported in India were ironically very high after owing to the outrage created by the Nirbhaya case. After this case, to pay respect to Nirbhaya, there were candle marches and even protests by the people. I have a question. Till when? Till when are we going to pay for wax and mortal light? It's sad to say that India has always been infamous for being safe for the women living here. And Nirbhaya acted like an eye-opener to everybody, not just the people of India, but also the people from other countries. The people on social media also did not step back and made the most of the platform that they were provided with. People started using hashtags in order to spread awareness. Several hashtags like hashtag gang rape, hashtag Jyoti Singh, hashtag Nirbhaya, hashtag cry for justice, etc. became trending on various social networking platforms. The organizations like AIPWA, that is, All India Progressive Women's Association, also took initiative regarding this. On Twitter, its secretary became one of the lead voices of the rights of women. Not only the government of various states, but the central government too has taken various measures to ensure the safety of the women of the country. The people eventually became silent again, even when Nirbhaya was not given justice for so long. I feel that the time to remain silent should come to an end once and for all. Women belonging to any class should speak up and immediately report even any minor harassment happening. The world is changing and the mindset should change along with it. Women should stop being afraid and should know that there is help available out there for them and they are not in this alone. People understand that raping a woman does not make someone more of a man, rather it degrades them. The culprits were taken as an example of such a shameful act. Not only this, the United Progressive Alliance UPA was under pressure by the people to make stricter laws relating to rapes and other sexual harassment activities dealing with culprits such as juveniles. This is because the culprits often try to get away after committing such a monstrous crime due to their younger age. The case and the protests done after has pushed the government of various states into taking measures towards women's safety. The government of Karnataka state announced a helpline 1091 working 24/7 to help women register complaint against abuse at any point of time. Several fast-track courts were introduced to help end their misery and provide legal aid to the victims suffering. A 13-point action plan was introduced by the government of Tamil Nadu state, which would make women's safety certain. It's again happening again. We are living in a surrounding where even after sacrificing her body, her dignity, her life, her pride, a woman is blamed for being raped. No woman feels free to discuss marital rapes. After marriage, women don't feel it is necessary to speak up about their consent in the outside world. They feel that they should somehow let it slip that they were forced just because they think their husbands have the right to do so. They often neglect that they have been raped. The rape culture has come too far. It needs to end. What happened on the night of 16th December 2012 should not have taken place. Jyoti should not have felt even a little unsafe, let alone be raped. What did Jyoti sacrifice her life for? Did she do it for some candle marches? Did she do it because she did not chanted God's name and fell at the feet of the attackers? Who knows that she didn't? Maybe she begged for her life. Did that stop the beast from hunting her and haunting all of us? No. People need to speak up about this. They need to understand that if they show some courage, it will inspire others to do so too. Nirbhaya's parents were not ashamed to disclose her name. They were not like most other parents who know what their daughters are going through but still chose to be silent. They think their daughter will not get married if people come to know she has been raped. This is because they think women who have been raped are not pure anymore. What made them impure? How did it become their fault, and why are victims punished for being victims? Nirbhaya's rapists were hanged. So should be done to all other rapists. People's ugly mentality should be changed. We should support women. Equality should prevail. Patriarchy must decline. It's time we bring a revolution today, or we are not changing any time soon. Remember, it's either being part of the positive change today or be the victims tomorrow.